everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to finally be reviewing the movie The Witch, and of course this will be spoiler free as always. I'd been looking for this in theaters for such a long time and anticipating it, and then I saw that The Deckled Edge, who's one of my favorite booktube channels, I'll link him down below, he was saying how fantastic this was, and I couldn't find it in theaters anywhere because it was very limited release. But finally, if you saw my travel vlog, I saw it when I was on Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. But I'm gonna go ahead and get into the review, and like I said, it will be spoiler free as always. So The Witch is classified as a New England folk tale, and it takes place in 1630s New England. A family which consists of the parents and then I think it's 5 children, yeah, 5, are excommunicated from this Puritan plantation. So they've gone from living into this little society to being incredibly secluded. They moved to this little clearing surrounded by woods. And this next part I'm about to say is not a spoiler. It happens within the first 10 minutes or so, but the young baby Samuel disappears. After he suddenly disappears out of thin air, not surprisingly, the family starts to just spiral out of control. They start accusing each other. Some say it was a witch that took the baby, others are saying it was a wolf. So this movie is just as much a horror movie as it is a narrative about what this family is going through and their interactions with each other. So first I'm gonna get into the pros, and there are many. I only have 1 or 2 cons really, which I'll get into at the end. But the way I would sum up the feeling of watching this movie is that it feels like something you're not supposed to see. Because this isn't a stereotypical horror movie in that there are probably only 4 to 5 scary scenes in the film. A lot of it is quite slow. It's definitely a slow burn of a horror movie. I saw someone online describe the viewing experience this way, and I completely agree, but it just feels as if the film is just dripping with evil. It just feels as if the devil were to make a horror movie, this is probably what it would be like, because it's not jump scares, it's not cheesy in the slightest, it's just so real, and you feel as if these events were to occur, this is probably how it would happen. And like I said, although there are only a few scary scenes, they definitely hit home, particularly one that happens very, very early on in the movie. I'm not going to insinuate whatsoever what happens, but if you've seen it, you know which scene I'm talking about. But when I went to see the movie, it was actually an empty theater. It was just me and my mom, which is probably for the best. And as I was watching this scene play out, my first thought was, is that happening? No, that can't be what's happening. That's probably not what's happening. I could tell my mom was having the same thought, and then all of a sudden it pops up and me and my mom just glanced at each other and we're like, oh fuck, that is what's happening. But like I said, if I had to compare this movie tone-wise to another movie, it would probably be The Shining, and I read an interview with the director and he's just obsessed with that movie, so there are a lot of parallels between that, especially in tone and just how it starts off quite slow, except for that one scene, and then it just slowly escalates and the family just slowly starts to break down. But like I said, this movie is quite slow, so if you're looking for a jump scare, stereotypical horror movie, if you liked the movie Ouija, you're probably not gonna like this. The acting in this film was also brilliant. The dialogue is all in Old English and they have quite heavy accents, but it didn't feel fake whatsoever. It didn't. The girl in particular, I don't know the actress's name, but her name in the movie was Thomason, but she was fantastic. And I also read online that apparently this was somehow the first time she's ever acted in a movie before. And one of the most interesting things I found out after I watched it is that anything sort of mythology-wise in terms of witches that happens in this movie is entirely based off of New England folklore. So say the accusations that were made during the Salem witch trials in terms of what people were saying witches would do, if something happens in this movie, it's entirely based off of those statements that were made. And the ending, which again, I'm not going to insinuate what happens, but it's easily my favorite aspect of the movie. If you watch a lot of horror movies, you will know the endings, I want to say probably 75% of the time suck and often ruin the film for me, but the feeling I had watching the ending of this film was just almost euphoric, and I just felt like I was in a trance walking out of the theater. The only con I actually have for this film is that some aspects were just a touch too slow. In particular, some of the mother's dialogues went on for a tad too long, but overall I highly recommend this film if you're a fan of horror. I know when I was, how old? Probably like 6 to 12, I had a very intense obsession with witches. I remember checking out nonfiction books about the Salem witch trials, bringing them all home. The librarians were always kind of like, do you really need that many? And I was like, yes. But I remember looking through for my last name and asking my dad when I was 7, oh, do you think there's any chance that one of our relatives was at the Salem witch trials, you know, was one of the ones who died? And he was like, well, considering we're Polish, no. Okay, but anyway, I hope you guys go ahead and check out this film. If there are any other horror movies you'd like to see me review, please go ahead and let me know, and I'll see you guys soon.